It's Sunday. Wow, this is the fifth time I've tried to get this sound and video to work. So we'll see what happens. Now I've completely lost my train of thought, what I was going to talk about. So I don't know. Let's go ahead and talk about AI and the future of music. What does AI mean to the future of music? It seems like a very rhetorical or redundant conversation to have, but it is popular and people do want to talk about it. I guess my only thing is if you do come on the live, please don't have a meltdown about AI. If you don't like it, that's okay. Some people like it, some people don't. I just want to talk about what I think people are not paying attention to relative to AI and music. And what is that exactly? So, a lot of people think AI programs, Suno.ai, Marika.ai, Udi. There's probably like 50 more of them, but I know those three. Never used Udi, just Suno and Marika. That does enough to explain it, but one moment. What I wanted to talk about was yes, it's already having an impact and it'll have a larger impact, but it may not be the impact people think. And let me explain why. And it actually may be a huge a bastion to musicians if you know what I'm talking about. So, the reason a lot of people don't like AI music isn't the AI in and of itself. Yes, on the older models, a lot of the stuff it didn't sound great. Okay, understandable. I'm with you on that one. When it first came out a few years ago and I started experimenting with it, I wasn't exactly impressed. I was impressed by the fact that they were taking massive chunks of samples and then basically, how would I even put this? They were like scrambling the synth. No, they were scrambling samples of chunks of full songs that they probably ripped apart with some of those things like Moises and things like that. If you don't know what Moises.ai is, it's one of those. It'll tear a song down track by track, and it's usually used by non-musicians, I would say, or people just getting into being a musician. But here's what AI won't do to music. AI cannot replace live music and live musicians. Why is that important? It's important to know and realize because most of the money you're ever going to make as a musician, believe it or not, unless you're one of the lucky few, is playing live. Now, playing live, that will mean busking. That'll mean live streaming like this. There are plenty of musicians that do nothing but take their guitar, like mine sitting over there, and they live stream, just strumming, playing covers, some originals, talking like this. And people donate and donate and donate. And I mean, if you're a pretty good looking girl, for example, and you can sing all right, YouTube and TikTok Live is a gold mine. You will never have to sign with a record company. AI will have no effect on your music career whatsoever. So really, AI is not going to have much effect whatsoever on live music because we're not going to have robots go on stage playing live music, at least not now. So if you're a live musician, I would say you're pretty safe. Now, as far as producers go and songwriters, your head's on the chopping block, as is and or was mine. That it's like, look, I can't keep up, not even close to like 1/10,000th of the speed of writing songs, recording them, producing them, and then putting them out there for whatever reason. I can't compete with AI on that. So AI is already having a massive impact on producers and songwriters because basically if you had a room of let's say 10 or 20 producers and you were going to pay them, anywhere from $500,000 to a few million to produce a record for some famous singer like Katy Perry or Taylor Swift or whoever, they will no longer need to have 5 or 10 producers. They're going to need maybe an audio engineer and one producer. So the biggest effect I think AI is having on music is that it will get rid of a lot of singer-songwriters that then become producers that, sing and all that other stuff. It's going to wipe them out. Now, who else will it affect besides the producers and songwriters? I think it's fair to say, hey, how are you doing? Nice to meet you, Youssef and Sawyer. Nice to meet you. How's the weather where you're at today? So, getting back then to what I was saying is the other person that will be affected, I think, quite a bit by AI or AI music, that's going to be studio musicians that record down in Nashville, Hollywood, New York, Europe, London, wherever you're recording. They are also going to be out of a job, I think. Hey, Destiny Johnson, how are you doing? So, what we're talking about here is, I'm just going to be talking about random music stuff, but who needs to worry about AI relative to being, like a singer, musician, or whatever? Hey again. Hey Angelique, Destiny, Sawyer, etc. And I honestly don't think it's going to affect live musicians. Where the money really is, hey, in music, if you sit and think about it, and I've looked at this for a few years, is really the people that are making the most money are not necessarily small music producers or anybody. It's people that are taking 1 second. It's people willing to just take their guitar or their keyboard or whatever they're doing and just sit there and strum and play covers and stuff like that. Now, I'm not really going to play guitar on this one because I won't be able to talk at the same time. I won't be able to pay attention to what I'm thinking about. But the money is still going to be in live music. AI will have no effect whatsoever really on live music. So that's a huge positive thing. If you want to make money in music, which is partially what this live is about too, and you don't know the direction and you keep hearing there's no chance because of AI music, no. You don't need to worry about AI relative to streaming and stuff like that. That's where the money is sitting in your house playing a D chord or whatever you're doing, singing and all that and getting a following and then playing live, busking, playing in live bands or whatever. That's where the dough is. AI will never affect that. What it will is it'll wipe out songs, songwriters, studio musicians, and then just it'll change the landscape of music in some way. But what do you all think? What's going on out there today? Any other ideas or topics to talk about? I really dislike winter. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. I don't think it's just because I like to play guitar, but it definitely has an effect, I think. It's pretty quiet, I guess. Yeah, I really dislike winter. It gets really dry. I live up north right now, and I really, really want to get out of here. I'm thinking about moving to Florida. A lot of people keep saying, don't move to Florida. So, anybody from Florida or the South on this live? We only got a few people in here. Um, I don't know. It's like every time you move from one place to another, there's one good thing and there's one not so good thing. So, I don't know. Maybe I will just strum my guitar a little bit here. Nobody's really saying anything. Boom, boom. I don't know how in tune this guitar even is. There's nobody here. Alright, this live is kind of boring, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, Sawyer. Maybe I should have thought of something else to talk about. This thing is out of tune, kind of. us. We got 3 people in here. What a massive live. I don't do a lot of lives, but I feel like a lot of people get followings if they do lives, which I already kind of mentioned about relative to talking about music, is it seems like everything I've seen on the internet and just TikTok and then pointing out YouTube here relative to like people that hear in music, a song you think is criminally underrated. There's a good topic. Here we go. Start. A song you think is criminally underrated. Greetings from Serengeti Guitars. Nice to meet you, Serengeti Guitars. Serengeti Guitars. What is a song that you think is criminally underrated? Personally, if I thought of this question, what I thought a song that was criminally underrated? I mean, my favorite genre is probably 80s rock, I'm not gonna lie. 70s, 80s rock, but I like a little 50s and I like a little classical and a little swing 20s electro stuff. But that's a good question. A song you think is criminally underrated. Criminally underrated. God, if I went to my playlist, I would say like some of Europe's songs, if you know the band Europe, like Rock the Night. Europe got really popular from their song The Final Countdown. A lot of people that listen to their music, if they don't understand the band Europe, well, you would just probably hear it or look at it and think, this is the most cliche 80s rock that there ever was. Dope Shope. Dope Shope. I don't know what that means, but Dope Shope. That's the song, maybe. I don't know the song Dope Shope. Why do you think Dope Shope is criminally underrated? I honestly thought Dawkins too. Now, when I was much a younger lad, there was just like a handful of stuff you'd hear on the radio. People would talk about. People had tapes. People had CDs. Most people my age back then, when I was a kid, like 20 years ago, they really did not have. Nobody was listening to like vinyl records. Vinyl records started coming back, I feel like, in the late 90s or early 2000s, maybe even later on. But it was all CDs and tapes, and it was very mainstream. So if I looked at the band like Iron Maiden, if you're familiar, this message is held for review. There was a band, Iron Maiden, potentially, what is this, spam? I don't know what that, K-Hook Rajaji show. Dope Show. Okay. I don't know who said what. There's like 2 or 3 people here, so I don't know who's watching what or if this is being auto-dubbed from English. But Dawkins, I feel like George Lynch. Now, I don't think George Lynch as a guitar player, I don't think he's underrated at all in the sense that he's definitely gotten his the respect he deserves for his chops, so to speak. But Heaven Sent is a song by Dawkins. Heaven Sent. I think that song's criminally underrated myself. If you listen to just the guitars on it. Now, this is coming from the perspective of someone that likes rock, guitar, and a little bit of metal in there too. I don't know, this message. What's the message? I keep getting these things that says there's a message. But I don't speak, I don't know what that is. I think that might be like from India or the Philippines, but I don't speak. I'm not sure that language. Obviously, it's not Sanskrit. Anyway, let's see here. Questions. Song you think is criminally underrated. Criminally underrated. You know, one thing, if I took that question and kind of reversed it, right? Songs that you think are criminally underrated. How about songs that are criminally overrated? And boy, are there a lot of songs out there that are criminally overrated. I could go on for days about this, but so much pop music out there, what people refer to as pop, where the entire voice is pure auto tune. Now, I got nothing against auto tune here and there or whatever, but and then it's just like a trap or an 808 or something like that, and there's no real melody. I keep hearing like a version of that song everywhere I go, and I'm like, what are you listening to this for? But again, that's just me, that's just my opinion. Hanu Cigar. I don't know what Hanu Cigar Dopashopa means. We have one person watching. Who is watching? I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this live because I didn't know if there'd be anybody really on it in the first place. But there's a few people on it. Jabim by Bir Marano. I don't know this song. Jabim Marano. But it's criminally underrated. Well, that is fair that you're saying that, I guess, right? Let's try a different question. I don't know how to use this thing very good, I'm not gonna lie. And now I have playables. What the bleep is this button? No. I don't know how to answer this thing. Anyway, how's everybody doing out there today? Here's a topic of discussion for musicians, if you're a musician or a guitar player. We're always led to think like the idea of a punk song is like a 3-chord song, and it's like that stereotype, it's true. And we've all been kind of led to believe like that the magic in music is always a 4-chord song. So from my perspective, whenever I would write music or try to write songs, if I were to go like E minor, if I were to play an E minor and go, and then maybe follow that with a C major, and then follow with a G, technically 3 chords, it's a 4-chord progression, but it's really 3 chords, the E minor. I was always led to believe that the 4-chord progression was like the ultimate thing where you'd be like, but I think about it now is why didn't anybody ever refer to like the 5-chord progression or a 6-chord progression? And I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I was writing, I took a song I had written and then I had remixed it and then put another song over it on top of it. And then I remixed that song through an AI chord generator and it added the 5th chord. And I mean, I could argue that it's 6 chords, but the progression in each, there are 5 individual chords, not the same necessarily from the one to the next. But again, I was thinking about even that music and it made me realize how lousy my approach was to writing songs, because not completely, but just through the lens of writing chords. If you write songs, like I said, E minor, G, let's throw in an A. This thing's a little out of tune. Sorry. Still out of tune a bit, but I'm going to try to tune it here while I talk. So, talking about chord progressions and songs, writing songs. But what I want to say is, if you write from the perspective of like rock, from lead and rhythm guitar, Cora Clamara Car. I don't have a translator on here, so I appreciate whatever you're trying to say, but I have no clue what you're saying. Clora Kamara Ka. I don't know what that means. Anyway, what I'm getting at with the 4-chord progression, let's say D, power chord, D5, to A5, to C5, to G5, so I was always taught to think that was somehow that playing the 4-chord progression was superior to, let's just say, a 3-chord, but that a 3-chord was good enough, and that your only choice was really the 3-chord progression or the 4-chord progression. If anybody's with me out there on that, right? So what I mean by this is that as musicians, I think one of the best musicians to look at, and I believe Bad Brad said this too, is that Billy Joel is one of the best singer-songwriters out there to listen to if you want to learn more specifically about how to write better songs. So like I mean where like the three chord progression of, let's just say, the G, the D major, followed by the C major, the bum, the bum, the bum. That was always taken to be like probably the most popular thing in the last 40 or 50 years is those three chords. And you can make great songs out of it. And even the weirder thing too is that in songwriting and music, people so often when writing music would take that approach of just all these big full body chords or cowboy chords, G, D, whether A, maybe back to B minor, back to G, maybe go from a B minor to an F sharp minor, and then do a G and F sharp. You get what I'm basically saying. I think that if you really want to think about how to make songs that are like coming from a completely different point of view, but they're out there and they're good and there's plenty of examples of them, yet very few famous producers, few famous musicians, singers, songwriters, whatever, ever even really talk about the 5-chord progression song or the 5-chord song, the 6-chord song versus just a 3-chord song or a 4-chord song, which everybody worships the 4-chord song. And it's like, dude, I think it can work and it does work. But when you think of the approach where people have been writing songs, like I said, where just imagine this, if you're playing D, 5, A5, C5, G5, and then you're doing this in your verse. If you're gonna make a verse for a rock or a punk song, you might be a, and then you could do a D suspended for a build-up, and then back, and back, and then back. It's the most overused thing, and then you could play over that D major, A, etc. with a lead, and then you get something and throw in some synth, and then you put the vocals in the right spot. Like I said, relative to songwriting, I'm talking about songwriting here. I don't know if anybody's interested in that. Apparently not. Hey, why learn to write songs when AI can just write all of your songs, right? But I really do think now that the 5-chord progression has so much more to offer relative to creativity than does just the 4, and obviously a 3-chord song, like I was saying, the cowboy chords of G major, D major, A major, or C major, which is the, that boring thing, right? I don't know, maybe nobody wants to talk about songwriting. Maybe this is just a bad time to be doing this, I guess. Still it's so cold in my house. I can't keep this guitar in tune very good anymore. I feel like it needs to absorb some moisture. But now my battery's dead, my tuner. It sounded almost in tune. But something's off. I don't know. Whatever, I guess. song you think is criminally underrated? Is there anybody left on here? I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like listening to music. They would rather just talk, so we could do that too. But I don't know what to talk about. There's so many things to talk about, but like, what are people going to talk about? Can't talk about music with everybody. Even musicians, you can't always talk about music to musicians because you like different music, one. Two, you disagree on things in music because of purely preference. So there's that whole chasm of issues or paradox. Talk about the economy like some older folks, that'd be rather boring. Anyway, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be on here. I don't know who's watching out there because I'll talk about maybe a famous musician from the 17 or 1800s that plays this one. Paganini. Is anybody familiar with Niccolo Paganini, the dude that plays? I love that tune. It's a really good exercise for the hands too to play it. And the thing is, Paganini or Niccolo Paganini, I've known who he was a long time. I guess I never really looked into who he was as a person till last night, and I saw this image of him, which I wish I could show you, but look up Niccolo Paganini, and he had something called Marfan syndrome, where, if you can imagine, Marfan syndrome is where your hands are just huge. And he played the violin. Obviously, this isn't a violin, but if you were to play a violin, you'd play it up here like this, right? Okay, you get what I'm saying, right? This dude's hands were, if you attach like a hand, I can't even describe it, but you have to look at the pictures of this dude, Niccolo Paganini. It's just very interesting to see the situation for what it is. I had no idea the dude was so, there's no nice way of putting it. I didn't know he was that deformed. There was a picture specifically of when he passed away that his hands were just massive. I don't know. Nobody's watching this, so I'm just going to stop. This is, yeah, not working.